Ukraine and US prepared updated peace framework, a joint statement says. Congress to review plan to end war in Ukraine, and how Europe unveils counter-proposal to US peace plan, aftermath for Ukraine. The latest news next. Ukraine is currently at a critical moment, facing intense media frenzy and significant political pressure, stated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a video address to the 4th Parliamentary Summit of the Crimean Platform.
We are at a critical moment. We are working very closely with the United States, European partners, and many others to determine steps that could bring an end to Russia's war against Ukraine and real security for everyone.
The president emphasized the threat posed by Russia, which is attempting to legally formalize its demands on Ukrainians' territorial integrity and sovereignty, spreading this approach worldwide.
There is a lot of media furor, a lot of political pressure, and even more responsibility lies in the decision Putin wants to impose. The legal formalization of what he desires, that the principle of territorial integrity and sovereignty is not upheld.
This is the core problem. We all understand what it means. He wants this not only from Ukraine, he wants it from the whole world. And this is extremely dangerous, he added. Zelensky also reported that as part of coordination with the US, Ukraine is taking steps to secure the release of all prisoners and the return of kidnapped children. At the same time, he called on partners to seek compromises that strengthen Ukrainians' position rather than weaken it.
We will continue working with our partners, primarily the United States, seeking compromises that strengthen, not weaken us. And we will continue to explain how dangerous it is to pretend that aggression can be ignored, as if everything is somehow resolved on its own.
The president urged parliaments around the world to support Ukraine and maintain pressure on Russia, including through freezing Russian assets, and stressed the importance of accountability for war crimes.
The decision to freeze Russian assets is important. I ask you to support this decision and continue to maintain pressure on Russia because it kills people every day. Occupied territories remain occupied. This means Russia continues to be an aggressor state.
Following the 23rd of November talks in Geneva, Ukraine and the United States prepared an updated and revised framework document on peace, according to the joint statement published on the websites of the Ukrainian president and the White House. The statement says that the talks between representatives of the United States and Ukraine on the 23rd of November in Geneva, held to discuss the American peace proposal, were constructive, focused, and respectful, underscoring the shared commitment to achieving a just and lasting peace. Both sides described the consultations as productive. The parties reaffirmed that any future agreement must fully respect Ukrainian sovereignty and ensure a durable and just peace. Following the talks, the sides prepared an updated and refined framework document on peace. The Ukrainian delegation reaffirmed its gratitude for the steadfast commitment of the United States and personally President Donald Trump for their tireless efforts aimed at ending the war and the loss of life, the statement follows. Ukraine and the United States agreed to continue intensive work on joint proposals in the coming days while maintaining close coordination with the European partners. Final decisions on the framework document will be made by the presidents of Ukraine and the United States. Both sides confirmed their readiness to continue working together toward a peace that guarantees Ukrainian security, stability, and recovery. Senator Lindsey Graham said that the U.S. Congress must be given the right to review the peace plan that will set the conditions for ending the war in Ukraine, according to Graham's post on X on Sunday evening. According to Graham, the current draft peace plan may offer an opportunity to end the war honorably and justly, but it requires transparency and credible security guarantees, and Congress must be the body that evaluates whether the agreement truly contains mechanisms capable of preventing a new attack. Graham warned that any lasting peace in Ukraine must ensure that Russia is unable to launch another invasion in the future. He also stressed that the peace process must include Ukraine itself and European allies, saying that an agreement cannot be made over their heads. Graham drew a parallel with oversight of nuclear agreements, arguing that just as Congress has the authority to review deals with Iran lawmakers should also be allowed to examine any peace agreement with Russia. This statement comes amid Graham's broader initiatives. He has previously proposed tough sanctions against Russia if Moscow refuses to negotiate or violates any peace deal. Graham is also working on legislation that would give the US president new tools to pressure the Kremlin, including what he called an economic hammer, introducing tariffs on countries that purchase Russian energy. According to the senator, without congressional involvement in the peace process, the risk of renewed conflict remains high, which is why he argues Congress must have the opportunity to evaluate the security guarantees outlined in the agreement. European states have prepared an alternative peace plan for Ukraine that significantly shifts the balance in ongoing negotiations, according to The Telegraph. The European proposal was drafted in response to Washington's 28-point plan, which critics said offered Moscow excessive concessions. According to The Telegraph, the new European document introduces several major adjustments. Russia's reintegration into global formats. The plan envisions a gradual return of Russia to international platforms and its reintegration into the global economy, including the potential restoration of the G8. Restrictions for Ukraine. Unlike earlier drafts, the European version proposes capping Ukrainians' peacetime armed forces at 800,000 personnel, mandatory elections after signing the deal. The document includes a provision requiring Ukraine to hold elections immediately following the agreement. Exclusion of controversial yes points. Europe removed Russia's demands for political changes in Donbass. A US proposed clause allowing Washington to claim 50% of the revenue from frozen Russian assets. US position and reaction after Geneva talks. Following the emergency summit in Geneva, the US confirmed that its plan had been adjusted. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, "It was probably the most substantive and productive day we have had throughout this entire process." He emphasized that the final terms must be approved by the leaders of the US and Russia, noting that Moscow keeps altering its conditions. At the same time, President Trump criticized Ukraine for showing zero gratitude and expressed dissatisfaction with what he described as insufficient European efforts toward peace. Criticism of US plan. The initial American proposal drew sharp backlash both domestically and internationally. Critics claimed it resembled a wish list for Putin, and some suggested the original text may have been written in Russian. US official Megan Mobbs argued that linguistic patterns in the draft resembled Russian governmental documents, though the administration dismissed these claims, insisting the plan was created in Washington. About political reactions across Europe, European leaders have stressed the need for coordination and transparency. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz questioned whether Trump's timeline could be met.
I am not sure we will have the decision the president wants in the coming days.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk demanded clarity.
Before we begin, it would be good to know exactly who wrote the plan and where it was drafted.
About core principles of European counter-proposal, any territorial negotiations should start from the current front line, not Russia's demands. Frozen Russian assets should remain frozen until Russia pays full reparations to Ukraine. Talks in Geneva between the Ukrainian and US delegations were a step forward, but there are still important issues to resolve, according to Finnish President Alexander Stubb. According to Stubb, he spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on the morning of Monday, November 24th.
I welcome the progress made during yesterday's meetings between the US and Ukraine in Geneva. The talks were a step forward, but there are still important issues that need to be resolved.
Any decision that falls within the competence of the EU or NATO will be discussed and adopted by EU and NATO members separately, he added. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.